I just want to make sure the council understands why we're here. There's been some questions raised on social media, and I just want to make sure that council is comfortable with the direction we're taking. Back in December, we held a special meeting to address crime issues in the community. As part of that and part of our analysis of the things that are going on that are impacting our crime rates, one of the things that popped to staff's attention was convenience stores and the number of convenience store robberies, especially the latter part of the year. We were inundated with several. And so staff and, basically police department are looking at some regulations that we can put into place to help improve safety at convenience stores. And at the same time, we started receiving some interest and some inquiries from developers wanting to put convenience stores in neighborhoods, and we felt that it would be difficult to have a good discussion on convenience store regulations and some safety improvements while we were dealing with certain applications. So that was the reason staff recommended to a moratorium, and that is why it's on the agenda tonight. This is a staff-directed initiative to give us time, but also give the council time to thoroughly discuss the different aspects of convenience store development. So with that, I'm going to let Jeff kind of walk through the process, what a moratorium means, and just what our process is going to look like to establish the moratorium.
Yeah, this is really the only slide I have, actually, which is the calendar. What we'll be asking of you tonight is just to kind of set the wheels in motion and to call a special hearing or a special meeting for January the 28th. It's a week from tonight. Because of the state requirements for a moratorium and how you have to schedule the public hearings and so forth, really requires an extra meeting in there. But you'll see tonight a resolution and a special meeting being called. We'll publish notice on Thursday. The Planning and Zoning Commission will hold the first public hearing next Monday. On Tuesday, the temporary moratorium will take effect. And that night, assuming you approve the meeting today, I know you're planning on discussing some of those things anyway that night. So there'll be your first public hearing, the second public hearing on the issue, first reading of the ordinance. Then at your regular February 3rd meeting will be the second public hearing and consideration of the moratorium ordinance. If you fail to take action on it or choose not to, then the temporary moratorium will expire on February 4th. If you do proceed with the moratorium, then it will extend until June 2nd. The purpose, of course, of the moratorium is it will prevent new applications for site plans, plats, permits, all sorts of things for convenience stores specifically during the moratorium time to give us a chance to get our ordinances to where we believe they need to be. There will be a provision in there, and some of you may remember from the past, where there's a waiver process where somebody, if they have some unique circumstances, can come in and request from the City Council the opportunity to apply for one of those items that is subject to the moratorium. So we had a couple of those in one of our moratoria that we had in the past, but that doesn't happen too often, but it could. So our responsibility will be to get you ordinances to address convenience stores and do the things you want to do, get that all wrapped up before June 2nd. And then certainly once you change the ordinances and adopt those, if it's in March, for example, it won't be in March, but if it is, then the moratorium ends when you adopt new ordinances. So as soon as you have the new ordinances in place, people can start making application.
Any questions, comments? Go ahead, Councilman.
I just didn't want to start talking until you said yo. So. No, I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Armstrong. This this is not something that I think any particular council member asked to be put on the agenda, but was an outgrowth of our meeting in December that staff and especially the police department was looking at enhanced regulations for convenience stores. And in fact, at our last meeting, we saw sort of a taste of that with the video and the other regulations that we applied towards that Gus Thomason and the 30 Service Road, and that Councilmember Green kind of tweaked to enhance. A moratorium gives, I read a couple of those stories, and I read a couple of just completely wrong posts on Facebook saying that the intent was to try and limit or eliminate convenience stores, and then people railed on about what an awful idea that was, et cetera, and it shows when people don't know what's going on what their sort of their fears and fantasies go towards, and also a news media that doesn't seem to accurately want to report what we're doing anymore. The reality is that a moratorium, and hopefully we can get this done a lot quicker than June 2nd, will allow us to ask our police department and our city staff, how can we make convenience stores, both current and future convenience stores, safer? What regulations can we put in place working with those companies to make sure that it's so difficult to go in and rob these stores that the criminals go elsewhere or just give up their life of crime, and they decide not to do it ever again because we made it so difficult. And this isn't just, although it is very important for the safety of the people who work there. The 19-year-old, one of our kids who's there at 3 a.m., by him or herself, and someone comes in, it's not only for the safety of that person, but it's also for the safety of the customers who go in. A lot of our issues are that people go in and out and we can't identify them, which is why I loved your enhancement of the ability to be able to see them. And those are sort of the things that we can. A moratorium isn't a ban, and I don't know why people always think that. It's not, we're not going to do this anymore, or we're going to eliminate this. What it does is it says, hold on, let's work on our regulations, let's improve our regulations. And I'm hoping, and I was just telling our city manager, I hope we can get this done a lot quicker than June 2nd. And I think we can. I think we've got a lot of good ideas from our police department. And, more than anything, before I forget, also the idea of some of these stores being too close to residential neighborhoods. And I mean like right next door, within feet of residential neighborhoods is also something that we need to look at as a land use principle. Not to eliminate them, but I think within a certain number of feet, maybe a conditional use permit makes sense to give the neighborhoods a say. Maybe they love it, maybe they want it, maybe the gas pump's 20 feet from my bedroom window probably isn't a good idea. Therefore, we have the ability to work on these sort of things. And I have to say, it wasn't my idea to have this moratorium, but I think it's a terrific idea, and I applaud city staff and our police department for pushing for this. I think all of us have had our citizens tell us, what can we do to improve? And as much as we want more police in our neighborhoods and more police at certain locations, there are other things that we can do to make ourselves safer, make our citizens safer, and the people who work in our town safer. And so I say kudos to Cliff and the police chief and all the staff that are working on this. I'm just all in favor of this.
Councilman Green?
Yeah, so a couple comments. I mean, this is not like, hey, let's get rid of convenience stores in Mesquite. This isn't a ban. This is, hey, let's take a pause for a moment so we can take a good look at this and see what we can do to make these places safer, because ultimately we want these businesses to thrive just like we want any business in our city to thrive. In order for them to truly thrive, people got to feel safe going in there. People got to feel safe working there. And that's what this is all about. This is about taking a pause, giving us a chance to look at some ways that we can make these businesses safer for everyone that's involved. If anything, at the end of this process, Mesquite may become like the prototype for how to do a convenience store and how to run it effectively, safely, and to be able to be highly profitable, because if people feel safe, they're going to be more willing to keep going back and shop over and over again. So this is just going to give us an opportunity to look at some things we can do to try to make sure that these businesses are as safe as they can be. There's a few little tweaks that, a lot of us have probably heard from our residents already, such as having windows blocked, things like that. There's some things we need to look at. We need to look at the model. We need to talk to the stakeholders that own these businesses. And this moratorium is going to give us time to do that. If we try to rush any regulations or any changes, we might not get it right. We want to make sure we get this right for the citizens of our city, as well as the business owners. We want to make sure we do this the right way. So I'm glad that we're going to take a pause, we're going to take a step, we're going to take a good look at this and make sure we do it the right way.
Thank you, sir.
I'll just echo those comments as well, and I appreciate those comments because I feel like our city has been affected, the north, south, and east and west of it, with different crime issues that have risen in regards to convenience stores, and we do. The public needs to understand that we're not saying no to convenience stores, and we're not saying that we're not going to allow anymore. We're just simply saying we're pausing, and I like that word pause. We're not banning, like you said, but we're pausing just to see how we can improve the safety of these stores for our citizens. And again, coming off that meeting in December, and we heard our citizens, we want that to be a priority among them. So I appreciate the comments from our city manager. And as we move forward with this, and again, the different ideas that come forth from the council, from the staff, from the citizens that came forward in December as well, updating things that we can do to make our neighborhoods safer with these convenience stores. There are more convenience stores that are going to come, and there are more convenience stores that are going to apply, and we just simply want to be ready when they do. So I believe this is a great idea. We need to push that pause button just for a little bit, step back, take a look at it, make sure we're moving in the right direction, improving things in our convenience stores so there's safety in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Smith.
Having been in law enforcement for 45 years, I have been on the scene of a lot of these tragic offenses where convenience stores are robbed. Someone may or may not be shot. But looking back on the many times that I've been there and looking at the lack of evidence that I wish we could have had to determine who committed this offense, looking at what we have the opportunity to do now to assist our police department in ways that I wish we would have had back in the day when I was on the street doing these type of investigations. We have a great opportunity to give the tools, proper tools, let me add that, proper tools to the police department to assist them. We know that these offenses are going to occur. We know that. It's what we can do after the fact that will allow our police department to look at the evidence, better evidence, to solve these crimes. And so we need to look at that aspect of it. This is not to punish anyone at all, but again, to make our city safer. And the way we make our city safer is by giving the police department the tools to make arrests and put these offenders away so that it does not happen again. Thank you.
All great comments. I echo what all council members said. I look forward to this moratorium to pause, like you said, and make our city a safer place to be. Good place to work, good place to shop, good place to stay. Any more comments?
With item 25, the City Council will consider initiating a process to address regulations on convenience stores in the city. Contrary to recent news reports, the intent of the moratorium is not to ban all stores, but to press pause on new development of these businesses and allow the council time to consider regulations to make convenience stores safer and reduce the impact they may have on nearby neighborhoods. Next Tuesday, January 28th, the City Council will hold a special meeting to address crime in our community. One of the more disturbing trends in our community is the quantity and frequency of violent crimes being committed at convenience stores. At this meeting, our police department will propose several regulations to address crime at convenience stores that will help make these businesses safer for their customers, the public, and their employees. Additionally, neighbors in certain neighborhoods have expressed concerns over the impact these stores have when they are placed in residential areas. Traffic and noise are issues with these types of businesses that can be addressed through enhanced regulation. To describe our efforts as an all-out ban on convenience stores is an inaccurate narrative. A moratorium is a temporary measure that provides cities the ability to address regulations and provide the development community clear expectations when it comes to new development. This moratorium is being recommended by city staff to give us and the city council time to address and discuss these issues. I do not anticipate the moratorium to last more than 90 days. I encourage residents to attend the public meeting next Tuesday, January 28th, to learn more about the proposed changes and participate in this process to help improve our neighborhoods and make Mesquite a safer community. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, City Manager. Have any comments from council? Councilman Green.
Sure, so I'll make a few comments on this. Just to clarify, as our city manager said, this is not us outright banning convenience stores. We absolutely are open for business in the city of Mesquite. We want good quality businesses here. We need convenience stores. You know, it makes things easy when you go grab something. So basically what this is, it's like pushing the pause button. You know, we're just wanting to push the pause button on accepting any new applications on convenience stores right now so that we can take time to talk to the stakeholders, the people that, you know, want to develop convenience stores, the people that currently own them. Let our city staff do a little bit more investigating. Let our police department look into a little bit further to see what we can do to try to make these businesses safe for the people that operate these businesses, for the customers that go in these businesses, because ultimately we want these businesses to thrive and succeed. And when crime continues to happen at these businesses, people are going to stop going to these businesses. We don't want that to happen as a city. We're looking at whatever we can do as a city to try to partner with these businesses to make them safer, to make them more desirable, and to make people want to go to them. By doing this, we're hoping to make these businesses thrive and succeed and to become a model for the way convenience stores can operate throughout both our city and maybe other cities as well. We're doing this to benefit both the people that shop there, the people that go to work there, and the people that own these businesses. We care about, you know, our businesses in the city of Mesquite, and we're going to do everything we can within our ability to try to make them as productive as possible and make them good, you know, members of the neighborhoods. So that's what this is all about. This is just our chance to push the pause button, to take a deep breath, to take a look at what we've been doing, what hasn't worked, and figure out what we can do to make things work for the future. That's what this is about. It's giving us a chance to take a thorough look at this. It's not about stopping us from ever having convenience stores, running them out of town, anything like that. It's simply for us to take a look at what we can do to make these businesses more productive members of our city and help make their business model succeed. So we're all about getting input. We want to work with these property owners. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Green. Councilman Smith.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Yeah, having spent 45 years in law enforcement, I look back at my career, and most of it was involved in criminal investigations. And I recall many of the times that being on a crime scene at a convenience store that had been robbed, where someone may or may not have been shot. But looking back at the lack of evidence that we had in order to determine who committed a crime, and now looking at the opportunity that we have to provide the Mesquite Police Department with some additional tools to help identify who the person was who committed an offense. And I hope everyone understands that the ideal here is not to punish anyone. That's not what we're trying to do. It's to make everyone safer. It's to make our employees safer, our citizens safer who walk into these convenience stores, who happen to walk in during the middle of a robbery. And by us setting some standards to new stores coming in that would help give the police some better investigative tools, that they might identify who the person was that committed this offense. It's only good for the city for us to do this at this time. We can't stop robberies, that they're going to happen. But what we can do, we can give our police department the proper tools to better identify who committed the offense at the time that it was committed by getting that person off the street and preventing another robbery. That's going to make our city safer for everyone. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Councilman Wisdom?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I would just like to say that I appreciate the City of Mesquite staff for directing this initiative. I think it has been needed for some time. Several constituents in District 1 have expressed to me their concerns about existing convenience stores, and I'll echo what Councilman Green said and also what Councilman Smith said. We're not trying to punish anyone, but if your 19-year-old son is working at 2 o'clock in the morning by themselves in a convenience store that has no security cameras, that's a problem, and they get robbed. So we're doing this as a measure to try and work with these existing convenience stores to help them bring their businesses up to a safer level of security for everyone, for people that patronize their business as well as their employees. And so, no, we don't want to ban convenience stores indefinitely. I hope that we can get this done within the 90 days that Mr. Kahili has mentioned, and we will work to that end to get this done. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Councilman Aleman?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I want to thank our city manager and our staff for making this recommendation of a moratorium for the convenience stores. I have gone to visit convenience stores after a robbery attempt, after a crime was committed. I've gone the next day to go visit there, and I've seen those employees very shaken up, some of them weeping, because they have to work, they have to earn a living, and they're there late at night. And so I know that this is very much needed, and as I mentioned in the pre-meeting that we had, this is in the north, south, east, west of our city, and if we can do something right now, because more convenience stores are going to come. They're going to come, and so we're just, like it's been mentioned earlier, just taking a pause, hitting the pause button. We're not banning the stores. We just want to reevaluate, and I'm so grateful for our police department that's on this as well, getting ready to make recommendations, and our staff of things that we can do to make our communities, our neighborhoods more safe, because some of these places are right there, right in the middle of our neighborhoods, and we need to continue to take a stand against the crime in that area. So thank you. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
You're welcome. So one thing about sitting in this seat, you're the last one to talk. And, excuse me, Mr. Miklos, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead.
That's all right. You sound like you're getting all excited, so I'll try and be real brief. I agree and echo all of my colleagues in their statement. And I will say I'm excited because Mesquite is showing its leadership in the DFW community. Our police department and our city staff have come to us and said, this will help us fight crime, not banning or slowing down or preventing convenience stores from coming to Mesquite or being in Mesquite, but putting common sense crime-fighting tools in our stores, existing and new ones, so that it so discourages crime and criminals from coming and robbing these stores that, first option is that they would go elsewhere, but I don't want them to go elsewhere. I just want them to give up their life of crime because it's so difficult to rob any of these locations at all. Councilwoman Wisdom is absolutely right. Our sons, our daughters, our brothers, our uncles are working at these stores or going into these stores at 2 in the morning. And one of the worst things that you have as a city council person is if something happens, if someone gets shot and killed, one of your constituents or anyone, and you could have taken action to prevent it, but you didn't. And so we're going to look at common sense things like security cameras and security guards and taking off the obscuring areas on the windows that prevent the police from being able to see in, all of the things that encourage crime and criminal activity, that make these locations inviting, and not just in Mesquite, but all over the Metroplex. And so I'm very excited that Mesquite is being a leader in demonstrating to the rest of the Metroplex in fighting crime, in listening to its citizens, in hearing what they say, and taking action. This is action. This is your city council that you elected, hearing you and taking action. And so I'm heavily encouraged by this, and I applaud our police chief and our city manager for bringing this to us and saying this would be a great thing, this is a good idea, let's be leaders in the DFW community. And I think this is the first of many things that we're going to see Mesquite take a leadership position in this community as we move forward. So kudos to everybody involved in this. Thank you, Chief.
Anyone else? All right. Well, I concur with everything my colleagues up here have said. I think it's a great thing that we're doing. I hope that we have a lot of citizens that come on the 28th, listen to our chief, listen to staff, what they present, but not only what they present, but what you want to see too. We want to hear from the citizens and see what the citizens want to say. So please come on January the 28th. What time? 6. At 6 o'clock here in the council chambers, and help us make these decisions, because this affects everyone living in Mesquite. Not only everyone living in Mesquite, but everybody coming to Mesquite to do business, passing through or whatever. So, do we have a motion?
Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to make a motion to approve 25A and B as read.
Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Cast your votes. And that passes 6-0.